Okay, so I think we're going to kick it off. Thank you so much for being here again. Today I have amazing Aoife Gaffney as a host. So Aoife Gaffney is a certified money coach and financial advisor. In the past, Aoife worked in a number of big organizations, including Symantec, Xerox, the Irish Mortgage Bureau, and other companies, specifically in the areas of community management, software analysis, mortgage advisory, debt management, pension, investments, and more. And for many years, she has been helping people get out of fear and isolation that comes along with money. Aoife's education, corporate and coaching experience allow her to help her clients completely change their relationship with money once and for all. Along with helping her clients to uncover beliefs about money, to develop prosperity, consciousness, and to become more mindful about their spending patterns and habits, Aoife will empower you to make big changes which will last for the rest of your life. And from my personal experience, Aoife is amazing to work with. She's done a number of workshops and webinars and various projects with us, and she's always been absolutely fantastic. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Aoife.
Paulina, thank you. Thank you very much. I think I was one of the early adapters with Kara. So that's really nice. And sometimes when I hear an introduction, somebody's introducing me, even though I probably intro myself, I'm still kind of looking over my shoulder for the person behind me. But anyway, so I am going to share my screen. You are all very welcome. There will be a QR code at the end of this if you do have a question that you either didn't get time to ask or you just weren't comfortable asking in this space, but you can ask a question privately using the Q&A, I think. Or you can just pop it into the chat and I'll do my very best to cover all the questions. So let me share my screen. Screen is decided not to share. So what I'm going to do is I was going to have to email a presentation to Paulina. I'm going to do that now and she will pull it up on the screen and everything will be well. And the bit that I forget is that nobody else can see the chaos that I'm seeing. But in a sense, that's life. And that is sometimes how money stuff works. So you might look at me, well, I hope you look at me and say, my goodness, that girl has everything going on and she's just super organized and fancy that. But actually, nothing could be further from the truth. And it's not that I'm fraudulent um, or anything like that. If anything, I am 100% transparent about all aspects of my life. And one of the reasons that I do what I do is that I did what I did. So my journey through life and through money has been very complex. And I've experienced quite substantial debt twice in my life. And those debt experiences were pretty disgraceful, but they came about through my poor relationship with money and a poor relationship with myself and a poor relationship with the person that I was involved in at the time, because those disgraceful times of debt came about from breakdown of relationships. So it's when I talk about money and I talk about your history with money and your relationship with money, I do speak from a place of experience. So whatever your money story is, whatever you feel is your money shame, I've heard it. I've heard anything that you can possibly say. I've heard it all. I've heard every story. So there's nothing that, really that you could need to be hiding behind. But the presentation is, what is important to understand is this is for educational purpose only. It's not financial advice, because financial advice is given on a one-to-one basis and it is based on you and your circumstances in that moment. So you are very much in the right place. If you are stuck between I need to save money and, oh, but like you only live once. So if that's the mentality that you have, oh my goodness, life is short, and I need to live in the moment, I want to do all these other things. And yes, but I really do need to save for the future. I need to put money aside I need to think long term. So often there is that disparity between, this is something, I think I just see my slides popping up there. This is something, thanks very much. This is something I need to do now, and I really should, which is quite a negative emotion, should be saving for the future. If you can scoot to the next one there. Brilliant. So yeah, if this is you, you are very much in the right place. Can you pop to the next slide there for me? Great. So a little bit about me. I'm also, as well as being a certified money coach, I am a kind of semi-retired financial advisor. Um, I am the current president of the Professional Speaking Association in Ireland, and I'm also a certified divorce coach. And one of the spaces that I work in, if you go to the next slide for me, one of the spaces that I work in is I work a lot with couples, whether they are coming together initially. So it's, two people coming together for the first time and they really do need to have those money conversations, or it's two people who maybe have decided for whatever reason to go their separate ways and they need to earn out that money stuff. I do quite a bit of legacy planning. I'm not a solicitor, but I can help you put a really robust framework in place so that when you do go and have it signed off by somebody else, it saves you quite a substantial amount of money. So I work with individuals, couples, and entrepreneurs, and I also work with parents who would like to instill a good sense of money stewardship in their children. If you could pop to the next slide for me. Thank you. So how do I do it? I offer very practical techniques, but first I help you figure out what's going on in your mind. What are your money stories? What are your money beliefs, whether they limit you or propel you forwards? And I use that using lots of different types of techniques. So I'm a licensed hypnotherapist, and I use lots of other techniques to help you figure out what's important for you in your life so that you as an adult can make better informed decisions about your money that are right for you. Next slide, please. So this is my commitment to you, is that I will be 100% honest, and I can look back on my own money shame now and just laugh about it and go, oh my goodness, so what? That happened. I addressed it. I fixed it. I had a bad credit rating following me around for a couple of years. I now know that these things can happen and they can happen to anybody. I also now know what the solutions are. I'll offer you value and I will offer you 100% integrity. Next slide, please. And what I ask from you in return is that you stay focused, knock off your phone or put it face down if you can, and do ask questions because this is an interactive session. Next slide, please. Cute. So money should always support your life and not steal from it. So money is not really a kind of a thing in itself. It's a means of exchange. So money doesn't solve your problems, but it will help you arrive at them in style. So if I am unwell, money is not going to miraculously make me well again, but it will allow me to be able to make better decisions. It might allow me to take time off work. It might allow me to see this particular person that I need to go and see. It will allow me to choose different therapies that I might like to engage in to make myself feel better. So money in itself is not going to solve your problems, but isn't it much more fun to arrive at your problems in a Ferrari than on a bicycle? Um, well, somebody put their phone in the door. Well done. If you pop to the next slide there for me. Thank you. So my first question when I'm dealing with any client, whether they're young or older, it doesn't really matter what stage of their life they're at, I ask you, what is your big why? What is your driving force? Because rich is a very subjective expression. So what does, whether you want to call it richness or wealth or abundance or whatever it is you want to call it, why would you like that? So why would you like more money in your life? What is your really, really, really big why? What is your burning desire? And what does that look and feel like? For one person, it could be, well, I would like to have more money so I can afford to have a cleaner come into my house once a week. And that is what this looks like. So I come home once a week and my house is super shiny. For somebody else, it could be, I would like to take this very specific holiday and travel first class so they know and because this is something I've always wanted to do, read about this place in a book when I was small, and so they know their why and they know what it looks and feels like for them. And when I get there, this is how it is going to feel. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when you are engaging in any kind of experience or any kind of purchase, always ask yourself, how can I make this awesome? So this morning I had a little bit of time on my hands. I was in between meetings. I said, I am going to sit down with my laptop, going to make some adjustments to this presentation, and I'll go find somewhere with Wi-Fi and I will have a cup of coffee. I had three choices. I had Starbucks, handy place for Wi-Fi, just not mad about the coffee. There was McDonald's, surprisingly good coffee, complimentary newspaper, good Wi-Fi, just not a spectacular environment. Or I had a new insomnia, which just opened up around the corner from me. Loved the coffee, really good loyalty scheme. Um, Quite quiet actually because nobody knows it's open yet. Hurrah. Really, really, really good Wi-Fi. The cost was about the same for the various different cups of coffee. They were all within a fairly close proximity of each other. But for me, making this experience awesome was going to the place that I really, really liked and having coffee that I was really, really nice. I just really like insomnia coffee in a space that was just more conducive for creativity. And it made me feel very abundant because actually I didn't know, but there was a free coffee hiding in my app. So I felt really good. This is the right place for me with a comfortable chair, with the table at the right height, a nice space. So I made using that 40 minutes or so, I really made it awesome. And I felt very wealthy and I felt very abundant. Next slide, please. But the simple way, it's a very simple three-step method to having more in your life, whether that's more time, more money, more wealth, whatever it is you want to call it. It's a very simple three-step method, and it is called the CEO method. Can I have the next slide, please? So it's cut your expenses, look at ways to earn more. It's much more fun actually to earn more before you start cutting expenses, but that just didn't fit with my CEO acronym. And then optimize your spending. So optimizing your spending is you need to spend some money to do something. How can you make sure that you get the absolute maximum return for that outgoing or that transaction? Next slide, please. So put a date in your calendar. For me, it's the first of the month. That's just easy. So 12 times a year, I would spend maybe about 20 minutes or so doing a kind of a review. I have a 2-minute, 29-second daily check-in with money. And so every day, every morning, probably even less than 2 minutes, I check three things. I check my personal credit card, I check my personal bank account, and I check my business bank account. So they're the three things that I check every morning. And I just make sure, yes, that's been paid, that's come in, that's gone out. So that probably does take me less than 2 minutes. And I am in, so it starts my day in a good space. So I am demonstrating to money that I am a good steward of money. And then about once a month, I look at, because I track everything, I look at where can I adjust, cut, tweak, trim. Where can I earn more? Can I increase my pricing? Can I do a promotion? Can I do something? And where can I really optimize my current spending? But if you start with if you start cutting expenses without having tracked them, you can end up cutting the wrong ones. And have the next slide, please. So money mapping. Next slide, please. Money mapping is a very interesting technique, and it's much more than just the money. Money mapping actually focuses on the physical and the practical, which is I need to buy the groceries, pay the utility bill, do these things, buy some clothes. The emotional, how does this make me feel? And then there is that sort of that spiritual connection of when I feel like this, I feel more connected or whatever it is, or I feel better about myself when I feel safe and secure. This for me is it does bring me an element of fulfillment, and fulfillment is slightly different to happiness, as in happiness is kind of in the moment, but fulfillment is coming more from a place of ease, flow, and joy. Can I have the next slide, please? So if you consider that, down at the bottom is your, okay, if you, limped over the line, did that thing, right, fantastic. That is your kind of your economy class experience. So if you take things like to another level, it's like that, what feels a bit better for you? And then if you, this is sort of, we have economy class, um, what's the next one up? Club class. And then if you have like, how can I make my experience from, okay, just limped over the line with that to like an absolute wow. And you can do that actually quite simply through optimized spending. So again, it's back to me with the coffee. I could have gone to McDonald's, which is, kind of a noisy, not a great place, and the chairs are so uncomfortable, so that people leave. Or instead I went from I probably went from a few to a with my lovely insomnia. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. But what most people start, the place that most people start is they start with the number. So this is where the money mapping becomes really, really, really powerful. So we take this is what I have to work with, and I'm going to make that work. And when I do that, this is how I am going to feel. We reverse engineer that. We say, this is actually how I would like to feel. I would like to feel happy, joyful, contented, creative. I don't know, but this is very much in alignment with your values, which is an exercise that I'm happy to send you. So when you figure out what is important to you in life, and you might have three sets of values, you might have your personal values, you might have your family values, and you might have your career values. So what's important to me in? So you figure out what those are and what those feelings are. Then you look at the details. Okay, so when I feel this, this is what needs to happen in order for me to feel that way. And it's then and only then that you actually stack the numbers on top of that. So it's working out kind of how you'd like to feel, I like to feel safe, secure, contented. Um, my values are not adventure and excitement, so I'm probably a bit more conservative. Then I look at, okay, what does that look like? How will I know when I feel that way? And then I look at what is it going to cost me, and where do I need to spend my money in order for me to feel that way? So it could be as simple as, again, back to the coffee. If I sit on this McDonald's chair, I'm like clutching on with one butt cheek. That's not making me feel very safe and secure, because it's kind of an uncomfortable slidey chair. But if I go to the nicer coffee shop where the chairs are a bit more comfortable, the table is at the right height, I can charge my phone in peace, then I feel a bit more safe and secure. Can I have the next slide, please? Fantastic. So when you start looking at, right, where can I cut my expenses? Where can I earn more? And where can I optimize my spending? We are planting seeds, we are growing those seeds, and then we are harvesting. So that's really when you have cut your expenses, earned more, optimized your spending, and you now suddenly have this, okay, so now I have some money left at the end of the month instead of the other way around. Because what wealthy people do, and I'm using these terms very loosely, wealthy people pay themselves first and they invest and save first, and then they spend what's left. Poor people, no offense is meant by any of these terms, poor people spend first and then hope to heavens that there will be something left at the end of that, that they will then be able to save, and investing is something that other people do. It is for other people over there, those wealthy people who just understand everything that these people just do not understand. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So if you have absolutely no idea where to start, not a clue, depending on your attitude to risk, and that's a whole other conversation, a really, really, really simple way to start building some traction is to figure out the rate of inflation in whatever country that you are in and beat it. So in Ireland, the average has been about 3.3 since about the year 2000. Now it fluctuates up and down because that's what it does. So if I am going to start saving some of the money that I have generated through cutting my expenses, earning more, and optimizing my spending, so I now have this extra little bit. First thing I'll do is I'll just look up all of the deposit rates, and I'll look that up with either with a website that's specific for Ireland, which would be something like Bunkers or Switcher, or I might look actually even at the international market, something like Bunker Raisin, and I'll look at like who has a deposit rate that is above 3%. And there are deposits out there that are hitting 3 and maybe just slightly over. So that's a really, really, really simple way to start. You might not make money, but you will certainly keep up with the rate of inflation. Can I have the next slide, please? So the reason that most people just don't do anything, they don't get their money working for them, they spend all of their time working for money, are all of these fears. And I had so many fears around money, and I still occasionally will feel those fears sneaking into my subconscious mind again. Fears that if I put my money into this thing, this fund, this overseas bank account, um, I could lose it all because I don't understand it. It is outside of my comfort zone. It is even physically outside of the jurisdiction or the geographical location that I live in. But remember, if you live in the Eurozone, you can have a bank account anywhere in the Eurozone. And so many people who have said this to me, well, I don't really want to bank with a foreign bank because I don't understand it. And yet the person who has said that actually is using Revolut or an equivalent. And when Revolut came into the Irish market, initially they now have Irish banking status. They are based in Lithuania, Latvia, I can't remember. But so it's sometimes those fears are irrational, but a fear of losing it all is a very valid fear. I have absolutely no idea where to start or how. I only have, and I don't know, how do I start? Do I knock on the door of Wall Street if I want to start investing? What do I do? Where do I start? Where do I go? Do I ring up my stockbroker? And how? And investing, growing my money, getting my money working for me, that's not for people like me. I have to be rich. I need to be rich. When I have this, I'll start. So they're very valid beliefs, but they are also limiting beliefs. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so what I absolutely love, love, love are self-directed exchange traded funds. Now, initially, when I heard that first, I just had no clue. Didn't understand it, not a clue. Thought that's just, no, that's too much. Again, that's for the wealthy people over there who understand what if I buy the wrong stock? Oh my goodness, what if I put my money into something like Tesla that just bombed because of news on the market? I don't understand. What if I genuinely, genuinely pick the wrong stock and it's all a big disaster? So a self-directed fund is exactly what it says. It kind of looks, feels like individual bit of one company, but instead of a bit of a very specific company, it takes a bit of lots and lots and lots of different companies that all have something in common. So you might say, well, I really like sustainable funds. So what the fund does is it goes out and finds bits of companies that all fit a kind of sustainable model, puts them into a box with a bow, and then you can buy a bit of that box. So it's so important to understand what your driving forces are. So I am a very proud tree hugger and more than happy to admit to that. So the things that I like to spend my money on things that are ethical, things I like the circular economy. I like sustainability. I like forestry. I like recycling, upcycling, all of those things. So I would probably steer away from a company that doesn't fit those values. So something like a high waste, what I would consider a high waste company would be something like Shein or Temu or that kind of disposable sort of ethos. And I'll steer more towards something more sustainable. So particularly, and at the moment, forestry investments in Ireland are tax-free. And if something is tax-free, I am absolutely first in the queue. So when it comes to looking at a fund, it also removes the element of, oh my goodness, what on earth if I put my money into the wrong stock, which is an individual company. It removes all of that fear and anxiety. So you put it into a box and the magic algorithm or the magic bot that manages all of the pieces in that box, it removes the element of human emotion. So it's a piece of software. Software does not experience emotions. Software doesn't have a bad day at work. So the pieces in that box have to fit certain criteria. So once the thing doesn't fit that criteria, it's booted out of the box. So as long as you kind of understand the values of that box, you actually cannot possibly lose. Do I go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I did just some comparisons. If I took €5,000 initially, that was my initial in, could be any number. I just picked these numbers. And every year I added €5,000 and I got an average of about 7% return, which is a conservative estimate. When you start getting your money work for you, you'll understand that these percentages make a massive difference. And I plonked it in there for about 10 years. My total contribution would be €55,000. And after 10 years, I would have 78, just over nearly €79,000. So that is a gross return of just under 24,000. That's okay for like Zippo effort. But when I look at the gross return, that's nearly 44%. Remember, if the rate of inflation is 3%, anything above that, you're doing well. So if you're getting nearly 44% on a gross return after 10 years, that's pretty good. And even looking at it year on year, that's 7%. So it's kind of doubling the rate of inflation. So, okay, like half of what I am saving is going to be eroded by inflation, but the rest is mine. So I'm very happy with that. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is the cost of doing nothing. Now, fear keeps us stuck. Fear is unbelievably paralyzing. Fear is often irrational. And I'm not dismissing fears for a minute, but fears and phobias by their nature are irrational. So a fear, like I have a fear of spiders. I have, fear of people have rather peculiar fears, like ketchup apparently it's more of a phobia than a fear. But it is slightly irrational when you think about it logically, because I have yet to find a person who, who's kind of experienced a major tomato ketchup trauma. But you never know, these things happen. That's what I mean by it can be sort of slightly irrational. And fears can really, really keep us stuck. But a fear is simply focus plus effort plus action, and the action is the really important bit, gives you a result. So if you do absolutely nothing, you not only are you in the same space, but you're actually worse off. So if you can hang on to your money under the bed, up the chimney, in an account that is not earning anything at all, something like a current account, and even if you have money in a current account, it really needs to be washing its own face. The cost of doing nothing over those 10 years will cost you, again, stick with the 55,000, is a minus of €14,280. That's the half the price of a halfway decent brand new car. That's 1/3 of an Hermes Birkin. So like that's, maybe like one tiny component of a Rolex. So when you put things into context, that's quite a substantial loss compared to a very realistic gain of about 23,000. So next slide, please. So what do you need to do? Take action. When you take action, it doesn't actually really matter what the action is, as long as you do something. So there's a difference between action and inspired action. If I take action, I can stand up and walk across the room. But an inspired action could be at the end of this webinar, I send a very specific, QR code or something out to the participants of this group. So that is something that is actually going to achieve something. So taking action could be, right, I'm going to look up the deposit rates somewhere. Okay, you have done something. But when you take inspired action, is doing more than just the research. So if you just look something up, that's great. You now know a bit more than you did a couple of minutes ago. But when you actually do something, whether it's, open the account, make the phone call, look at where you can adjust your spending, and then actually do it. So the inspired action is the actual doing. So sign up and do something. Your deposits, what doesn't, if you have money on deposit, that when I say on deposit, that means sitting in a bank somewhere that you can draw on reasonably easily. That's you're planting those seeds. When you start growing those seeds, it's when you're moving into the I'm going to do something um, I'm going to do something a bit more powerful with my money. And then it really, really, really starts, you'll start reaping that harvest when your money is earning money for you. And it doesn't actually really matter whether you get out of bed or not. So when your income comes from more passive sources, so that's the money you're making from your investments, and you are not swapping your time for money, that's when you move into a very, very, very powerful place. So you're no longer reliant on, I really need to get up, get out of bed, do my hair, get out the door, shoulder to the wheel. That's the hustle. By the way, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with having a job, being in employment, nothing wrong with that. I actually think it's a great space to be, but it's having that extra layer on top of that and taking some of the money that you are earning through your swapping your time for money method, taking some of that money that you have generated through cutting expenses, earning more and optimizing your spending, and then really, really doing something with that. So when I talk about optimizing spending, so an optimized spend is I need to purchase this thing. How can I get the absolute most in return for that transaction? So a really, really simple example is I need to travel next week. Um, and I actually have to travel at very short notice, and because I haven't left the country in so long, I didn't have any travel insurance in place. I had nothing, and I didn't have the mental energy to go making phone calls and doing research and doing online research that I probably could have done. I just didn't in that moment have the mental capacity to do it. So what I did instead was I looked at the bank that I currently use. So I use N26 for business banking, would highly, highly, highly recommend them. They're a German bank. And I had been using the free version up until last week. I paid 95 € to, by choice, to upgrade my account from their basic to their absolute first class version. Now that paying those charges was 100% my choice, because not only does it give me free travel insurance, which is great for the entire year, one less thing for me to worry about, it also gives me a higher interest rate on my deposits. It gives me higher cashback, and it gave me a discount on the car that I need to hire when I'm away. So the 95 € that it cost me to do that, as long as I book all of my travel with this card, I will earn that back probably in about 2 to 3 months with the interest on my deposits and the cashback. So the cashback is every time I use my card, it puts cash back into my account. So that's what I mean about an optimized spend. I needed to book flights and do all these things anyway. And I needed to sort out travel insurance anyway. So all I did was like 4 seconds cost me to upgrade, and it's an upgrade for a year. Uh, and then I needed to book all of those things anyway. So I did the bookings at a discounted rate. Everything is 100% covered in the just, for any eventualities. Other ways you can optimize spending. And credit card points aren't quite so prevalent in this country. They are, I think, in Canada and the States. They are really, really super. So it's all of those. How can I get the most from from this transaction that I need to do anyway? So if it's a product or a software that you absolutely love, is there um, an affiliate? Sorry, the word just escaped me. Is there an affiliate scheme? So maybe that affiliate scheme might give you cash back into your pocket, or it might give you a discount on something else, or it might give you an extra free month. It's a win-win. So if you are using something that you absolutely love and you then suggest it to somebody else that you think that it might benefit them, is there a way that that can be done in a win-win way? Refer a friend, here is a discount for you both. I love those kind of benefits. Um, whatever it is. So when you sometimes it's just a case of maybe spending about 30 seconds linking your credit card to another thing, or signing up for a loyalty program, or with your fuel card. I use a fuel card because it gives me 3 to 4 cent per liter off the pump price. So signing up for the fuel card took me, I don't know, 15 seconds. I need to put fuel in the car anyway, but every time I get fuel, instead of paying for it using debit or credit card or cash, I pay for it using a fuel card, which gives me a discount off the pump price. The only difference is that I pay for my fuel once a month, which I do um, then with my business credit card that then gives me reward points. So it's this, I have to do this thing anyway, but it gives me so many other benefits that took me less than a minute to put in place um, in the first place. So that's really what I mean when I talk about optimized spending. And cutting your expenses, if you do not know what your expenses are, it's very, very, very difficult to cut them. You cannot start trimming, tweaking, adjusting if you don't know what the thing is. So for a week or a month or whatever period of time works for you best, track your expenses without judgment. Absolutely no adjustment, no judgment, no nothing. Just track them. Absolutely track them. Then at the end of that time period, come along with a pen or a highlighter, whatever it is, and write down beside it, how did that make you feel? And are you okay with it? It's okay. So takeaway coffee, yeah, absolutely felt on top of the world. That is an essential part of my daily mental health. Fantastic. I am hanging on to that. Um, gosh, impromptu spend in this middle aisle of Aldi. How does that make you feel? Not great. I bought a lawnmower, but actually I live in a two-story apartment, so there was, kind of no point. So I might ditch that. So how you spend your money is your own business, but when you figure out what are your driving forces, what is your big why, what are you heading towards, what are you moving away from? So I've no glasses on. Paulina, maybe you could just read that comment out to me. When you figure out your own North Star and you figure out what your own spending is, it's so much easier to make adjustments. When I say cutting, oh, thanks very much. When I say cutting, I'm not talking about eliminating, I am talking about trimming, tweaking, training, these tiny, tiny, tiny micro adjustments that allow you to still have the quality of life that you would like to have. Remember, back down to those emotions. And then it's about fitting the numbers in on top of those. So are there any questions? Just
My
comment, I
apologies.
know
Uh,
comment is fine. A comment came in there and I just couldn't see it because the text was quite
yeah,
small.
I tried to manipulate the windows and then it turned into a disaster. So my apologies. I'll read out the comments now to you.
Grant,
So
thank
the
you.
question is, but it can be complicated to track spending when married. Should I just track my own spendings? Don't we both have to track our spendings?
Okay, really, really valid question. So there's a couple of different answers. Generally, I say start with you. You do you. And because you also might have quite different values. And couples, there's no, when you're married now, you should do this. You just pick a method that works for you and stick to it because that's the best method. The best method of anything is the one you actually use. So when it comes to couples, depending on kind of how they've agreed to manage the funds, I always say just start with you because you have 100% control over that rather than try to kind of beat the other person over the head into doing the things that the way you want them done, which may not be in alignment with their values. So sometimes couples they each have a discretionary fund and then they might have joint expenses. I say, like, start with yourself, get that bit done. And even just by starting with yourself, you're kind of just getting a hang of the method before you really kind of get into the trying to micromanage somebody else. So you might like start with yourself and then look at joint expenses and then let the other person, oh, what's that thing that you're doing there? So allow them to almost kind of what are you doing rather than trying to whack them over the head to make you do the things your way because that's the way you think things should be done. So I use a proprietary piece of software called YNAB, as in you need a budget. It is absolutely superb. Um, it does have a rather good affiliate program. It's free for about, I think it's 34 days free trial. Absolutely superb, and particularly for couples, because it's cloud-based, it allows you to have multiple accounts under the same license and you can have as much visibility or as little of the other person's as you choose. And if you're managing money jointly, if you enter the data in real time, the other person can then see, oh yeah, Bill on his way home from work popped in Tesco and spent €45 on groceries. Great, fantastic. So you get as much out of anything as you put into it. But I do highly recommend YNAB software. It's one of the few resources I suggest that is not free. Are there any other questions?
Not yet. Would you be able? Oh, there is one. Yeah, would you be able to spell it? What app?
Yeah, I'm
Just
going
for
to
people
just
who are
put
not
it
native
into
speakers.
the chat, into the chat. There you go. So it's
Mm,
YNAB, as in you need a budget.
nice.
Probably
And
the only time you'll ever hear me use that word.
nice. And while we're talking, there is another question that came through asking, is Revolut the best bank for day-to-day spending um, due to its benefits? Are they paid for account, ultrametal, etc. worth it? Is there any risk getting paid into it rather than Bank of Ireland?
Okay, so that's probably then coming from an Irish person, just because they mentioned Bank of Ireland. So is it the best? That's very subjective. I think there are more cost-effective options. Personally,
Oh no.
N26, which is the
Um,
German bank.
sorry, Aoife, would you be able to repeat the last sentence because you got frozen for a
Did I?
second?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So to answer the question that probably came from an Irish person, if they are referencing Bank of Ireland. So is Revolut the best? It's very important to look at what benefits are being offered. So no, if you love traveling, which I don't, so if you love traveling, flights, booking, accommodation, all those kind of things, then Revolut Metal I think is quite good for that. My personal preference, just because it fits my needs is N26 and they have four different levels. So they've got their free and then they've got four levels above that. Similar, but it's no harm in just comparing the benefits and you say, okay, which of these benefits are right for me? Um, I know some companies don't like paying salaries into a Revolut account. They just don't. If you ever do experience difficulties having money paid into an IBAN that doesn't begin with IE. So if you live in Ireland, all IBANs will begin with IE. If you ever do experience that, that's technically called SEPA discrimination, as in, I can't remember just off the top of my head what SEPA stands for. So any, an IBAN is an IBAN. The first two letters should not make any difference whatsoever. I think there are huge benefits in having your salary paid into anything other than a mainstream bank, because mainstream banks have quite high charges. So they have their generally have a quarterly maintenance fee. And I'd like to say, well, what exactly it is that are you maintaining? And then they'll often have a transaction charge. So if you are paying bank charges because you're using a traditional bricks and mortar bank in Ireland, I would strongly look at that is a superb way to start cutting your expenses. Switch over to something like Revolut, and their basic version is free. N26 is German. Their basic version is free. And if you are in Ireland and you like traditional mainstream banks, EBS are 100% free, but just their technology is just pretty dreadful. But their telephone customer service is really, really good. But just their online banking is quite, it's a bit archaic. It functions. Um, it just, you wouldn't be in a big stampede, you wouldn't be in a big hurry to try and do something with their online banking.
Thank you so much for a fantastic answer. I don't think there are any more questions. Yeah, thank you, says the person who asked the question. I'm just going to check the anonymous Q&A. There hasn't been any questions either. So we're precisely on time as well, which is amazing considering all the technical issues that we had. Right, so if you have any questions after the webinar, what you can do, you can get in touch with Aoife, either through, okay, there is another question. Do we have time to answer one more question?
Yeah, okay, so the question came in, how to pick the best ETF? All right, I can't tell you what the best one is because I don't know who you are. So step one is figure out what your values are. What do you like? Have a look at that. And then there's a very good website called Just ETF. Just make sure that didn't do something silly and autocorrect. There's a really good website called Just ETF. I think it's .com. Um, it's completely free, really, really good. Very good articles that are written very simply. And what it allows you to do is to set up filters. You say, okay, well, I like ETFs for sustainable funds, and I like them that are going to pay out a dividend, and I like, and I like. So you can set your criteria. It then narrows them down, and then you just consider the online trading platforms are like shops, so I'll either go to Tesco or I'll go to SuperValu. So you may end up with more than one, sorry, there's a typo in that URL. You may end up with more than one, thanks very much, more than one trading platform, just because this particular platform didn't sell the fund that you wanted to buy. But Just ETF is 100% free and very easy to navigate even for a beginner.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
copied the links because I think they were sent just to you and I.
Yeah,
So
there was a typo in one of them. And if you are a client of Kara Connect, you can always book a session in with me.
yes,
My diary is closed until late next week, um, simply because of bookings and travel that I optimized the living daylights out of.
exactly. So, and if Aoife is not in your Wellbeing Hub, what you can do, you can either request her directly from your Wellbeing Hub, or if you can't find the form, you can just get in touch with us any way you can. So either through the support chat or by emailing support@karaconnect.com, or getting in touch with whoever you know from Kara. If you ever spoken with me before or with one of my colleagues, just get in touch with us any way possible, and we will make sure that Aoife is connected to your Wellbeing Hub. No one will know about your request. It's going to be completely anonymous, completely confidential, so we can promise you that. And you will be able to view the recording in the next couple of days, probably early next week. But if you would like to be notified about that, also send us an email and I'll let you know when it's uploaded. Thank you so much for everyone coming here, and it was fantastic to see you all.
Thanks
So,
very much for having me, Paulina.
yeah, thank you so much, Aoife. It was a great presentation, and I'll see you all next month.